What's up guys, Cal of Westwood Table Soccer here and welcome to the Painting Academy by Westwood Table Soccer, where we are painting Feyenoord from 1958 to 59. This series is proudly sponsored by Santiago Table Soccer, and Santiago is where you will get all of the parts, bases, figures, discs, box, everything you need to paint for this series, and that link as always is down in the description. A little bit of housekeeping to do before we get into this episode. Video descriptions, guys, they're so important. In every single video description for this series and every single video description I've got on the channel pretty much has all the links and any extra information you may need from that video, so don't ignore them. It also, for this series, has all the timestamps in the description, so if you're looking through and you want to go to a specific one, rather than scrubbing across the red bar, you can just click down in there and click straight to where you want to go. So please do not ignore those descriptions. And don't worry if you're only getting to this series now. We're in episode 5. You can get to the playlist, okay, which will be up here on the video, so you can click out of this video if you want to go back and start from the beginning, or at the end of this video I will put up a link at the end of this video that takes you to the playlist. If you've missed out on the early bird special, again, don't worry, the page is still there on Santiago. You can get yourself over there, get yourself a team and start this series whenever you want. So this is episode 5. You'll remember in episode 4, which I think covered the hardest part of this kit to paint, okay? It's super tricky. Those 3 sock hoops are very unforgiving, very difficult to do, and they are on a figure, as we know, that's less than 3 centimeters tall. It's not easy, but at the end of that episode you guys should have figures that look something like this. So the 3 sock hoops are on, we've got our red sleeve and our red cuff on the other side. Most important thing to remember about this, guys, is about having fun. So don't worry if they don't look exactly like that. I've got one person message me today and said that they've just gone with all red sock tops. They gave it a try but they just couldn't quite get it right, and do you know what? That's fine. This kit is still going to look great. Feyenoord with black socks and red tops is still going to look amazing. So don't be afraid if you've got to make a few subtle changes to this kit to make it yours. That's what it's all about. You guys are creating a team for yourself. What we're going to be doing in this one then, we are only, again, going to be using matte 153 red. We're going to be halving this shirt straight down the middle. We're going to be creating our half on this side and also on the back. And we are going to create that V-neck winged collar that we need for this kit. That's what we're going to do in this episode. Let's stop talking about it and let's do it. Okay, so here we are, set up exactly the same as normal. Figures on my left, paint at the moment is here. As I said in the first episode, this is set up for me as a right-hander, so you guys, if you're left-handed, will probably just give this the old switcheroo to the other side, so your figures go on your right. Just before we get started, I just want to cover one thing about the paint. I've seen a few messages come through to me, okay, about people that have been saying that their paint, especially on their skin tone section, was quite watery and thin. That can happen, especially if it's a brand new tin, okay? So what you want to do, and what you're going to need to do, is give it a really good stir, and if it's a new tin, you've not used it that much, you probably will need to give it the old shake as well, even though I said I don't do it, I don't recommend doing it if you've got paints you've had for a while, because they will just stick to the top and you end up losing your paint. The other little thing I will say is, if you've got it open for a long time, okay, mix it as you're working, because what will happen is the longer it's open, obviously those little layers will separate, and that matting agent, the thickener, really that thickens that paint up, will separate. So keep it moving, and if you do have a thin paint, don't go full hero mode and try and get that finished finish on it straight away. Just give it a layer, okay, let it dry a little bit, mix it, stir it, then come back to it. Little top tip for you, that is the best way to get that stuff to go on nicely. So let's get on with halving these shirts. Okay, what we've got in front of me here then is the completed figure that we showed right at the beginning of the series and where we are now. The reason I've done that is because it's going to help me show you what we're going to do today. So what we're going to create today is this V-neck section here, and we're going to halve the shirt. We're going to continue that collar around to the back, and we're going to halve the shirt again. Now, what we're going to start with is we're going to start with this single V line up here. So this straight line that's going to go from halfway, so exactly at the point of the V, back up around here. What we're then going to do is we're going to flip our figure, and we're going to come around to here, and we're going to take it just around the top, and we're going to stop it in the halfway position. Then we're going to go back round to the front, okay, and we're going to drag a line from the bottom of this point, not right up here, from the bottom of our first red line that's going to be in here, and we're going to bring it all the way down. And we can, if we want to, and this is why we haven't painted our shorts black yet, we can, if we want to, come all the way down and just take it into the shorts, because we haven't painted them black yet, and we're going to be painting them black. The reason we haven't painted them black yet is for exactly this stage, because it's going to allow us to be pretty free with our paint around here and get a nice, clean, straight line that we know we can clean up with black. So we're going to come around here, create that divide there. We're probably then going to try and create a V shape by leaving white space. Now, not the easiest thing to do, and I get it wrong all the time. So that is one of the other reasons why we bought that acrylic 34, because we can just clean that up with the acrylic paint. So we're going to try and leave our V shape here. So we do create this line, then we're going to try and create our V and wing collar in white. So doing the outline of that collar, bringing it around to halfway, and then filling in at the back. So that's the plan for today's episode. Let's have a look at getting it done. So let's just start. We're going to do a couple through on just this first stage. First, I've got 4 ready. So let's go through it. Cool, so there we have our first 4 just basic V-shape setup done. Okay, round onto the back, okay, as well. So we bring it round because the shirt is a half and half and it's the same on both sides. It's not like some of these modern half and half shirts where they're sort of opposite on the back. So nice and easy. Brush setup wise, we are on a sort of a half and half point between a pointy brush and a flat brush. Okay, we want to have it with a little bit of width to it because we want to have a little bit of depth in the collar line. We don't want to be too wide that we're creating massive collars, and if it's too pointy then the collar will be too small. Now we're going to create our winged section of the collar. Now for this we're going to need to be a lot more pointy because we're going to be drawing an outline of a shape. So I'm just going to give my brush a quick clean here. Okay, so let's get a couple of these little fellas out of the way. So to create our V, we want to be really, really pointy. Okay, what we're going to do, get a little bit of paint because we're just drawing an outline to start with. We don't want to be too big because we've already created some width on this collar. So you can see with our first one here, we bring a line out from our collar. Okay, so we bring a line out and away, and then what we want to do from there is take that point and blend it. Okay, so once we've got that point, we don't want to make the collar any wider. Okay, so what we do is once we bring that point out, we then blend it into where our collar is at the top of the shoulder, and then we create our V or our wing section there. So I'll do another one and I'll try and talk it through as I'm doing it. So we want to pick a point here and just bring ourselves a line away. Don't want to come too far. And then from the end of that line, I want to bring it up to and blend it and hit my collar at the top of the shoulder. Just in there like that. And then all I'm going to do is just fill in my gap. And then I just want to check on the top of the shoulder that it blends all the way around. I've got a little tiny gap on this one. Just in there. So then I've now got 2 red collar halves there. I'm going to just go through these other 2 and then we'll go through just bringing that shirt half down and going through the next bit. Awesome, so there we have our red winged collar section created. Very, very simple. Quite tricky in a way because you have to get that brush set up right and following them skin lines round. But once you just get used to how you do it, you bring that point away. So if we go for this one, we just bring that point away and then we match our end point to the top of our shoulder point on the collar here. And then we've got our shape. And then it's just about filling that middle space in, which is nice and easy. So what we're going to go on to now then is just creating that half on the front of the shirt. So again, we've got these 4 guys. So let's get these 3 out of the way and let's do it. Okay, I'm going to do one naturally without talking. Okay, then I'll talk you through what I did. And then we'll go through and I'll show you the other 3. In terms of brush setup for creating our point, we want it to be obviously fairly straight and fairly pointy if we can. Now, there are a number of ways you can look to do this. You can go from the top and drag down or the bottom and drag up. I'm going to try, like I say, I'm just going to go natural on this first one. So there'll be some music in the background and let's give this a go. Alright, so there we have the divide put down the middle of the shirt. Okay, so our divide is now down the middle of the shirt. We've created our white space left V. Now, the difference between creating the white space V and painting a V is trying to leave the same amount of gap in here as you've painted on this side. So this line here is the important one, getting this one up. I'll make sure my finger's definitely not in the way of this. So, as I say, this line here is probably the most important one that comes up here. If we can leave that white space the same as this red space, perfect. This one then that comes out doesn't have to be as neat and clean as this one. You can drag this across as far as you want, as long as you don't drag it onto the sleeve that you want to leave white. Okay, so you can drag this one out a little bit further. Then all you need to do is pull this line up and over so you create something similar to what you've got on the other side. So as you can see on here, my line that came out and down is actually further out than where I've cross-sectioned it to bring it round. As we come round onto the back, this little line and area here will get neatened up when I fill in this in red space. So this little janky little, like very, very straight right angle almost edge is not how it's going to end up. So that's going to blend round into here and create a half in there, and then we come down. Really, really important little thing to mention now. On the back of your Santiago's, there is a big dip in the middle of the shirt. Best thing you need to do, and the best tip I can give you, is feather touch, not loads of paint. If you've got a lot of paint on your brush here and you dip into there, you will fill that gap up. You will fill that middle little recess up with red paint, and you'll end up with a half that bulges out into the middle. Really, really light feather touch, and you'll notice that every time I started from the center of the shorts. So I brought my lines up from the center of the shorts, and again I did exactly the same here. I started at the bottom, I brought my line up from the center of the shorts and then met in the middle, and then just equaled it out and evened it up on here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go through the next ones of these, and then we'll get into filling in this space in red, and we will be absolutely flying. On to the next one. I will try and talk at the same time as doing this, but there will be music in the background for the moments where I'm not breathing. Cool, so the only thing actually that I did there that I didn't mention the last one is that when I brought my line up from here, and I'll tell you what, I'm going to put it on the short so I can just show you later on when we come round to doing it with our black. So what I didn't show you on the last video, I showed you if I didn't mention it, is once I brought my line straight up the shirt, obviously my collar line doesn't quite meet as it would naturally. It needs to sort of come in at an angle. So I've met the middle there, and there was a little tiny gap here, and all I did was just drag up from here and just hit that corner line and fill in that space. And now that collar has that nice angle that I want. So what I'm going to do now is create my left white space. Now what I want to do from here is start my first point at where the point of the red one is so that it looks symmetrical. Then what I need to do, bring my wing section away. Again, can be too long, doesn't have to be perfect. and then just meet it back around the top as if that line was straight. So remember, on this side, I had a nice straight line to meet up with. On this side, you have to visualize it and try and see where that would be. So I brought my line up here. We then came out with this one. I've pretty much hit my depth perfect, and then all I've done is bring this line across to where this one would meet if it was dead straight. Okay, that's all you need to do. It's not easy though, so take your time with it. Then when we come around to the back of the figure, what we want to do is try and meet our red bit of the collar here. I'm going to try and meet our red bit of the collar to try and bring it round. I'm not Cool. So on the back there again, I've got a slight kick out on my red, but it doesn't matter because that section here is going to be red anyway. What I'm looking for is that area in here, is that white space nice and consistent, and I can see from where I'm looking now, I do need to just cut that a little bit closer in there, but that's all we need to do. And then here it's about leaving this white space to be the same size as this red space, and now all we're going to do now is just blast that line down there. So again, I'm going to come in from the middle of my shorts down here. Big area to be good on. Remember what I said, really light touch, not too much paint. If you need to, play on the safe side, bring it more to the right first, because then we're not going to come in to the other side. Perfect. Cool. So again, we've got another one done in here. I've got a few little nicks in the paint here, so I'm just gonna go around and just tidy them up a little bit so that I've got nice clean lines. And as I mentioned on the last little bit when I was showing you this, I don't know if you guys will be able to see it, but I've just, there's a little kick out in my collar, so I'm just going to bring that around to there. And then just even it up. Cool. Happy day. So that's 2 down. I'm then going to go through and show you the other 2, but again, Okay, so here we have then the 4 guys that we've been showing you so far in this video. Now we've got the backs of the players here showing the fronts on here. So they've all now got a divide on both the front and the back with our red line. Now what I call that is we've framed it. We've framed our area now almost completely for painting the red half. There is one little bit that we do have to continue to frame out, and that is around that white sleeve, which we're going to come on to now. But as you can see from here, we have created our V areas, okay, with our paint here. So on this guy in the middle, we've got our red V and wing on this side, and we've left our white space V and wing on this side. We've got our lovely crisp line down the middle there, and then on the back we've got a line down here. Again, as I said, this middle bit here is particularly tricky, so go really careful in here. Some of the recesses are deeper than others, but if you take it slow and you're careful with it, and again, if you need to, err to the side of caution and bring it to the right and then gradually build yourself over. If you get red paint in here, it doesn't matter, it's going to be red anyway. So coming down here, we're a little bit on the shorts, but again, doesn't matter because we're going to come over that in black. The last thing that we're going to need to do is just put a red divide between our sleeves so that we end up with a lovely crisp white sleeve over here, the same as we've got on this side, and that will pretty much have the shirt on this team 100% done. We'll be 2% away from being done, because all we need to do after that is add our lovely Feyenoord badge on here and then add the black in, and then we're laughing, then we're happy days in. So let's get on with showing you guys how to do this, and then I've got the other 6 guys to do, which I will show in a time lapse for you guys in a minute. So let's get on with having a look at halving and dividing that sleeve line on the other side. Okay, so let's have a look at getting this red half filled then and filling in our gap. What we're going to end up with when this is done is something that looks like this. Now, as you can see, what we've got now is a lovely looking red star Belgrade. So we've got our lines coming up here. Now I'm probably going to just kick a little bit more red into here because I'm not 100% happy with the shape of this, but that's irrelevant for now. What we're really looking at for this section of the video is this clean divide through here, and also along the back and across the top of the shirt there. Along the shorts, not a massive issue. I would say get into the habit of being as neat as possible across the top of the shorts, because if you are ever going to paint a team that has got white shorts, you don't want to be getting into bad habits about going onto the shorts. But it doesn't matter for this particular team because them shorts are going to be black. So as you can see here, we've got a slight kick out line up here, and it bends up the shirt a little bit. When we bring our black shorts on, that'll clean that up perfect. So in and around here, I start my paint, as you're going to see in a minute. I start it under the arms and I bring it down and I join up to here. I then look to come around and just meet just in the underarm area and then bring it up, similar to how we did here, but over on this side over here. So let's have a look at doing that for you guys in shot. Now again, for the sections where I don't breathe, I will be putting some music over the top and trying to explain it and talk through this with you as we go. In terms of brush setup, we want to be fairly flat if we can. So we're going to start under here, just throw some paint on. Now I'm in a really unnatural paint position for myself here because I've got like 2 lights to try and get in between and the camera right under my face. So it is awkward, but I'm going to do my best. So we're going to come in under here, trying to see that line where the shorts are. It's really difficult, but then we're just going to, I'm going to cheat a little bit and start here. So that's my first real sort of area now, and we're starting to see this kit really come together. Now this is the important bit, so I'm not going to talk. But what I'm going to do is bring my paint up into here. I'm going to try and do it talking. Let's try and do it talking. You bring it up into here, and there's sort of a line, a mould line, just under the arm where the sleeve kind of ends. Difficult to show on camera because it's white on white, so it's not going to be easy to see. So up there, there's a line on a Santiago figure that you can just about see it when you really look at them closely. It's difficult to show on camera, but there's sort of a line you just try and follow it round with your paint, and this bit should be easy because you framed it. This fill in the space bit is really, really simple. Trying to do this on camera is not so simple. So we just want to bring our paint to the lines that we made earlier on. That's why framing is so important. It really helps to keep the neatness and the cleanness in the lines, because we've got straight edges to work with now, and we're just filling in the spaces so we can be a little bit quicker, but we still want to be nice and tidy. So you can see there we have created our front half of the shirt, and it looks symmetrical to here, so we've got a nice balance of colour now running across the front of the shirt. When we come down to the back, it's the same principle as before. So what I want to do is grab my paint from here and just match it to the bottom of that stripe that's going down the back of the shirt. Then around the back, I just want to come to there to start with. I don't want to drag it too far, because what I'm going to do is bring my line over from the top, and that will give me something to join onto. This is difficult to do, but what I want to do here is bring this line down so that I end up with something to join onto from the back. So we put that down there, and then I'm going to come back around to here and just join them up. So now what we've got is a lovely half on the back of the shirt as well. I'm just going to fill in those spaces. Cool, and there you have it. And you can see there, as we look down the top of the shirt, we got a pretty similar balance of colour between our white left area and our red painted area. So that is how you create your half and half shirt. So we've got 3 done here, we've got 1 more to do. So again, we'll do that other one, we'll leave it at normal speed, but I won't be talking through it, so there'll be music in the background. Let's get this last one done. Little brush clean before we do. Okay, so we've seen there, we've created those in little steps. So let's show you guys now and talk you guys through doing one completely from start to finish on everything we're going to cover today. So the first thing we're going to do, as you've already seen, is just create that red V-neck, the V design on this side. So don't want a lot of paint, going to be nice and controlled. Take it up there, and all we're going to do is come around to the back, bring it round, and then what we want to do, as we said, is just join our two sections together. So there we go, we've got our red front V there, red side. We've come around the top of the neck there, and we've just stopped it halfway around the other side. So what we want to do now is bring our red line up the front of the shirt. Nice and crisp, pointy brush. What we want to have, not too much paint. And we want to just bring it up from the bottom and meet in the middle. And then, as I mentioned, you can't really massively see it, but we'll try and point it out. It's just here, between our red straight line and our red line that comes across, there's a little bit of a white space gap, which isn't there. So what we want to do is just get rid of it. We want to just fill it in red. So there we go. It's gone now. Happy days, we've got rid of it. So now what we need to do now is create our white space V on this side. Now we want to be aiming to start our line where this bottom red one meets. Okay, so what we want to do is bring it up to about there. Okay, so what we have now is a red space V and a white space V. I haven't put my wing on the red side yet, but I'm going to build my white one. So put my line out and away, and then what I want to try and do is bring this up as if this line here carried on. So if this line carried on up the shirt, I want to come round and meet my red in there. So there we go. We've come round, we've met up there. So what I want to do now, quick clean up on my brush. My paint is getting a little bit thick now. What I want to do is just create the one on the red side too. So we're going to get some paint on the brush. Just in here. Come out. And then with this one, we want to take it from the end and meet the edge of our red. Up there. So that we're not adding more width, just want to make sure that it matches up around there, which it does. Just wanted to clean that up. That a little bit of a funny looking line on the front of the shirt there. So we've got our V's in the front, and we just want to bring around now our collar line from the back. What we're going to do with this is we want to start just underneath, because we want to have white space. We're going to start that little piece there, and then we're going to come from where we come around the front, and we're going to just meet it. And we're going to meet it in there. So what we've got now is our collar lines done. So what we want to do now is create our straight line up the back of the shirt, which we're going to do just quickly. Just be a quick jump cut. I'm just going to mix my red paint around a bit because it is getting a bit thick. Awesome. So just mixed our red paint around a little bit, just because it was getting a little bit thick and harder to use. So just wanted to keep it moving. And now what I need to do is create that line up the back of the shirt. Now again, as I've said before, This recess in the middle of the shirt is a big danger area for this. What we want to do is try and miss it, avoid it. Avoid over pressure in that area. So I won't be breathing through this bit. And there we have our red line up the back of the shirt. Now all we need to do is get that line around the sleeves, okay, so that we have a nice crisp divide between the red half and the white sleeves. For this we're going to need a bit of a flatter brush. We're going to start right in the middle, under the arm, nice and safe area. Start to bring our paint round and fill in our spaces. And as I said earlier in the video, you just want to try and bring your brush on the flat up to, you'll see it on your figures. There's like a little crease in the plastic, and that's where you want to be aiming. And then just twist my brush onto what would be its pointy side to make that nice and clean line there. And then all I need to do now is just fill in this red space here with red, obviously. Now I've got a little bit of a funny line up by my collar there. I can just see it's not quite straight. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to finish doing what I'm doing here, and now I'm just going to get any excess paint off my brush, really manipulate it round. And just make it nice and straight again. So now we need to get our flat brush back. And what we want to do is meet from the top. So what we're going to look to do here is just take that down a little bit, just because that now will give me somewhere to join onto when I come around the bottom of my shirt. So I've got there my top line. We're going to get our flat brush back out, start nice and safe in the middle again, not as much of a big issue under this side, and we just want to try and bring that paint round and through from the back. And again, trying to get right under that arm but avoid getting any paint on the sleeve. Again, following that little crease, but not as tight on this side, because if you do get right into that crease on the back, you will look like you've gone too far over. And then just fill in that red space again. And once you've done that, I would say we are now, I don't know, 75% of the way through getting this team completed. Just go through, just go tidy up any little areas of faded or thin paint, being as careful as possible. I just want to trace over the lines. It's a little bit easier once there's already a paint line there to not over paint. But I just want to make sure and there we go. That is doing one from start to finish. Little talk through for you guys there. And we have our red halves and our collars on this shirt. Here we go then. This is what they look like at the end of this episode. We've created pretty much all of the shirt now, with the exception of adding the badge. We've added that winged V on both sides in the red and the white. Now we've been able to do it in this one, and I've shown you doing it with leaving white space. Now I remember in episode 4 I made mention to the fact that we're not going to rush ahead and paint them shorts black yet, and the player right in the centre of your shot now is a prime example as to why, because what we want to be able to do is clean that line up across the bottom of his shorts. If we'd have painted them shorts black, we'd have run the risk of getting red paint on the black. Now again, that wouldn't be a massive problem because we could just paint over it in black again, but we're adding layers of paint that we don't need to add. So the reason we left them shorts white for this part is because we're going to do all the black at the same time, and it allowed us that little bit of flexibility, that little bit of freedom to be less careful with our line across the bottom of the shirt and the shorts. Now, as I said in this episode, it's always good to try and get into the habit of being clean and tidy across those lines, but with this one, because they're black socks and black shorts, it wasn't such a massive issue. You'll notice the goalkeeper is not here. He is still in his box. We have not touched the goalkeeper. We will come on to the goalkeeper, I think, in the next episode. So this, guys, is where your final team will be at the end of this episode. Feyenoord 1958-59 then is now really starting to come together. That is the end of what we're going to show you guys today. The video for this one was a little bit longer. There was less time-lapsing and more real-time stuff in there. And the reason I did that is because I wanted to show you guys and be able to talk through with you guys a lot of different ways of a couple of different camera angles to give you guys the best opportunity of the visual and the auditory learning style, to give you guys the best chance to create it for yourselves. If you have any questions or anything you're not sure about, anything you want to see again, please get in the comments, or you can tweet us or get on Facebook. We have the Facebook group now, which is now in the description. Get down on that link. It will be the first one you see. Get in there. You can chat with other guys that are also doing this. You can get in contact with me. You can see posts from me that we haven't already showed you. That, my friends, is going to be it. It's going to be a big old subscribe button coming up in the middle. We're going to show you the rest of this series if you've missed it over on this side, and on this side we're going to show you guys our painting tutorials for any other little hints and tips that you guys might need. Until the next episode, guys, thank you so much for watching. Stay safe.